chant the epic, how to do the embroidery, and they were told about their, they learn about their culture as a unique community in that area of Panay. Originally, we called them the Hinilawod epic also, but later on, as we continued to work on its recording and translation, and as we talked to a lot of people, Dr. Magos has ascertained that the epics are being referred to as Sugidanon by the Panay Bukidnons themselves. So originally, the recording and transcribing, ang first, no, the initial works that we did, it took us 10 months to work with Lola Sosa. She would refuse to talk to me. She would refuse to sing to me the epics until I became close to her, and she has, thought of me as part of her family, that eventually, even in the wee hours of the morning, like 2 o'clock, she would wake me up just to chant and have her epics recorded. And we have a total of 105 diskettes that were kept at the Center for Western Science Studies of the University of the Philippines, Visayas, from 1999 until 2012. And because, of course, at first, there were really no interest, no? There were very, wala sang interesado, walang masyadong interesado about what we're doing. There were no funding at that time. There was even no NCCA. Later lang later lang ang create ang National Commission for Culture and the Arts. But the earliest projects that we have in recording of the epics with the Preciosa Caballero was funded through the International Archive, through the Epics of the Silk Route, and which was headed by Nicole Razel of the Ateneo. So the earliest collection of the epics are with Ateneo de Manila, and these are recordings from Preciosa Caballero. But eventually, we learned after she died, that her children all along know how to chant the epic, but during the time when Lola Sosa was still alive, they do not want to get ahead and tell that they know how to chant the epic, because they want that it will be Lola Sosa, their mother, who will be given, of course, the limelight. Next slide, please. We learned after she died, that her children all. Okay, following after we collected the epics, no, after it was recorded and transcribed, it remained at the archives of the Center for Science Studies until 2012. So, but it was also during that time that I was assigned at the UP Diliman to be part of the UP Board of Regents, and there were really a great support from another Panay noon, Dr. Maragtas Amante, who was formerly the Vice President for Administration of UP, that prodded us to go into publication of these epics. And we were really glad that it got support from the UP system, and at the same time from the University of the Philippines, Visayas, that we were given funding again of working on the 107, though nag-add na siya, may mga additional collections. So when that time came, it was in 2013, we were given the amount, no, a funding from the University of the Philippines, Visayas, to work on the epics for publication. So it was really so hard for us, because the original files of the epics are still being kept in old diskettes. I do not know if some of you, the younger generations, will not recognize any more of it, I think. But the earlier recordings, especially the transcriptions of the epics, were kept in floppy disks, that there are no computers that can anymore, open those disks again. So we really had to retype and digitize, re-encode the materials from the old diskettes, from the old manuscripts that we have. The materials are already nag-chip off na siya, but we had to retype it again, and we need to translate it from the original chanted language to the commonly used kinaraya of Kalinog, Tapas, and Lambunaw, Iloilo, and Filipino and English. I got familiar with the language itself because mas malapit siya sa Lambunaw nga kinaraya translation, for which I am a native. So I am from Lambunaw, Iloilo. So eventually, at first, hindi ko gid siya maintindihan. But later, I learned that some of our farm workers are using some words from the language that are being used in the epic. Next slide, please. So following that, we need to, because syempre, when we were doing this, wala pa, when we first researched on the material, wala pa sang National Commission for the Indigenous Peoples. But in 2013, when we were about to publish it, there is already a requirement for the free, prior, and informed consent that needs to be accomplished with the National Commission for Indigenous Peoples and the community. So ang ginubra namon ay we went to the community, get their consent, and nung Pedring Caballero, the representative, and also the main chanter, was endorsed by the elder members of Garangan, Masaroy, and Kalinog, Masaroy and Agkalaga in Iloilo to be the representative to sign the Memorandum of Agreement. But the ownership of the epics belongs to the community. So it is not just fully owned by Federico, by the Caballero family, but it is owned by the whole community of Garangan, Masaroy, and Agkalaga. And they gave us the consent in the publication of these epics, which we will be publishing through the University of the Philippines Press. Next slide, please. We were so fortunate that under the UP Press, under its director at the time, and still current director of the UP Press, Director Neil Garcia, they recognized the value and accepted all 13 titles for publication. They refer it to be the magnum opus, or the most important work even by the press itself. So I want you to know that, of course, may mga epics man kita in the Philippines. The longer ones, of course, are Hudhud, no, in the Cordilleras, and Darangen in Mindanao. But this is the first to be printed, to be encoded, no. Although epics are sang, and if it's going to be sang again, it's going to be probably ma-change ang text because it evolves, no. But because at that time when we were doing the recording, and we need to safeguard and ensure that it will never be forgotten by having it printed, no. Kaya kung haasta lang sa kanta-kanta, and eventually ang fear namon at the time when the elder members of the community die, nobody in the community would know how to chant the epic anymore. And the best way to preserve it is by recording and by translating, so that we can actually learn from what is being told in the epics through the words, and we can, of course, share it to the rest of the generation by having them read what we did with the recordings. Next slide, please. But also, may I, of course, no, there's just a lot of hard work that was being put into that. It's not only naging edit siya namon, it's not only naging translate, my cross-checking, we need to go back to the community to discuss if translations are okay, and to think that actual translation works kumbaga, we were only given funding for the encoding and a little bit more for the preparation of the manuscript, but there was really no amount paid for the translation work. So it's which we later learned nga kamahal gali. But anyway, because of the passion, no, or the love, because eventually we know that this is a prized work that we need to do what we need to do. And so you can see, of course, the medyo very small siya. But you can see how we did a sample of the translation work. So it was sang. These are part or some pages of the book that we did. I think I'm showing here a copy of Sinagnayan. So you can see my translation siya from the original text to contemporary Kinaraya, Filipino, and English. Of course, the translations may not be literary perfect, but we tried our best to do what we can and translate it according. It's just a cultural translation, how we understand and how the people of the community would like to make this traditional epic understood. So there was a lot of help from the community. But the epic contents, epic style follows a poetic form. Figures of speech are used in the entire 13 epic titles. It contains the customary laws of the Panay Bukidnon. There was a concept of tuos, which we can, of course, you may ask about it later, and perhaps Ma'am Alice can answer. And it shows of an egalitarian society for the magurang or the elders that are treated as equal position, power, and function. They have a respective magurang. Actually, these are Dr. Alice Magos. I think description of this epic. It reveals a maritime society where houses are located near the shore. It shows high respect for women. That's why a binukot is really highly respected. Families with good economic standing kept a hidden maiden or a binukot in their families. The noble or the respected men are addressed as buyong or dato. Of course, the buyong was later translated into something else, but we will have to discuss that probably later, no, in the open forum. Next slide, please. So again, they are alive, governed by customary laws, where the balance of society is governed by their dinumaan nga pagbinatasan. So may ang husay, more than the barangay captain, they would go to the elder of the community para sila ang mag-direct if there are conflict. It is the elder member of the community who is respected, who gives a decision and gives advice, no, to those who are in conflict. And in the customary law that they have, parents play an important role in the arrangement of marriage of the children, especially in the hungaw. And parents are also advised before the sibulan or a jar of wine witnessed by relatives of both parties. So these are pictures. The pictures that you can see here are during a hungaw. So before a hungaw is being done, may istoryahanay ang parents of both families. Kung case may ara mga exchange nga nagakanta sila and do may repartee, no? While they sip wine from that jar. So may pangasi sila nga nainom. Okay, next slide. And until, of course, an approval is made that the bride and groom can now marry. Next slide. So, makitaan man naton in the epics and, of course, in the belief of the Panay Bukidnon that the worldview, or they believe in a 7-layered universe where human, spirit beings, and rituals are the human, spirit beings, and rituals interplay. So we can learn from the epics that we have a warrior ancestors, or the Panay Bukidnon, have warrior ancestors that do not just fight for conquest, but rather in defense of their honor. So ang seven-layered universe nila is this, and each layer is inhabited by spirit beings. So the first base is the uninhabited base. Second is the Tubignon, where the water spirits live. Next is Idalmunon, no, being underneath, bali sa dalom sang ginaistaranta ng mga lupanon. We are the earthlings. And after above us a little bit is the kahanginan, where aerial spirits live. Kag sa ibabaw pagid naton may mga ibabaw nun nga nag-star, the upper world beings. Kag ang langit nun, ang heavenly beings. Kag ang sa pinakaibabaw, bale ang the great owner, our God. So amo nang aton nga translation. We have here, medyo hindi lang siya totally medlin, but this is the work of Chris Brasileño, an artist here in Iloilo City, that bali he sketched the seven-layered universe that you can see in the book of that you can see in the book that we also published. It is titled Traditional Knowledge Systems of Panay and Guimaras. Maybe later we can probably show you a copy of that. But next slide, please. Oh, okay. So I think more discussions on the magurang. But magurang is a root word meaning gurang or ripe or mature. They are the traditional leaders and respected for their wisdom in decision making and integrity. You can see that before publication of the epic, we need to go back to the community and discuss publication at the same time royalty for the Panay Bukidnon. And we have always been doing that, especially in the works that we done. We would often, if there are engagements that would tap us, especially if Panay Bukidnons are involved, our answer would be what is it for the Panay Bukidnon? Because we saw to it na more than what we get, ang royalty of the epic mas dako ang ila. And we are working now. Currently, they are receiving 7.5% of all the epic titles, royalty for all the epic titles. But we are working closely, hopefully, if the NCIP would work with us to elevate it, because the University of the Philippines is offering now 30% of the total cost. And this is really, really very special just for the Panay Bukidnons, because the UP Press will only allow 7.5% even for the other authors. So Ma'am Alice and I has not really received a lot of royalty, but we have saw to it that in the past, the initial release really went to Nung Pidring and the community. Next slide, please. So there were initiatives after the publication. There were really initiatives to raise awareness and to spread information about the Panay Bukidnon culture, because we learned na it's, even the younger generations, because they were acculturated, they were so ashamed that to be alluded to as Panay Bukidnon, because they think, well, at the time when we were doing the research earlier, na binuki, minanol, no? It's really common, especially at the time, na wala pagid nila ma-appreciate, no, ang culture. But so we had to do some initiatives in order to raise awareness and spread information about this very, very unique culture that we Panayanon should really be proud of. Next slide, please. So a series of conference. The first one, we had a foregrounding and revitalizing the Sugidanon. This was done in 2013. Gindungan namo ni siya altogether while we were preparing for the publications of the epic. And we involved the community. They are there to tell their stories. It's not only the researchers who told about the Panay Bukidnon, but these are conferences that were organized that really involved them and brought them to the conference venue to tell their stories themselves. And it was initiated by Dr. Christine Moico together with Dr. Alicia Magos in coordination with the University of the Philippines, the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, and the Center for Western Science Studies, and the Balay Patawili, an organization that is being maintained even at this time by Dr. Magos and Dr. Moico. Next slide, please. Next. Okay. And of course, in the Pagbayaw, it was such a very, a very lively event because there was a reenactment of the journey of the characters of the epic at the Iloilo River. There were also creative performances, exhibits, and gathering of cultural workers and artists and researchers in one venue together. So there was one research scientist, actually, one research scientist that asked me, bakit ganyan ang research, ang conference, ang gulo-gulo, ang daming. Because I answered it, this is about the arts. So hindi pwedeng doon lang tayo sa harap tapos ikikwento kung ano yung nakikita natin sa community or ano yung product ng ating research, the output of our researches. We have to bring them here because you cannot really fully appreciate what is culture kung walang performances and exhibits such as this. So part of the exhibits were done by artists. I think Libby Limoso, who is also still doing research on Panay epics, is part of the exhibits. And there are a lot of filmmakers who joined us and a lot of cultural workers that eventually, I think, opened their minds and are really too interested and excited to participate in cultural research and in the research of the Panay Bukidnon culture. Okay, next slide. And after that, it was followed up by the first national conference on the Sugidanon epics in 2014. So we had this again. It was funded this time by the University of the Philippines system. And the theme of the epic was embracing the indigenous Panay heritage through the Sugidanon. So at that time, it started, of course, though nag-open, it really opened the hearts of many about the epic, that they embraced even the Panay heritage and the Panay culture. And everybody wants to get involved. Next slide. Yes, and these are still additional photos of the epics in 2014, the first national conference. Next slide, please. And after that, we had another, I think, nagka-confuse lang ako, nag-exchange. But after that, there is another conference. We call that the second Sugidanon conference. And the theme of that conference was dedicated to the K-12 because it really focused on how we can use the epic and how we can have the understanding of the Panay culture through the K-12 learning. No, but I think I failed to put pictures here. And after that, it gained a lot of attention, even internationally. The QP has to organize an international conference on intangible heritage that happened in May 4 and 5, 2017. So again, we brought the chanters and the representatives from Panay Bukidnons, especially the young scholars from the Panay Bukidnon communities, to interact with the international community, the international researchers, and those who want to learn about their culture. So this time there were really a lot of people, or a lot of researchers and cultural workers from the international community who participated in this event. Next slide, please. Okay. So nag-una ang ako nga international conference. This is the second national conference of the Sugidanon epics, no? And the theme here was integrating the Sugidanon of Panay and other epics in the Philippines in a K-12 curriculum. This happened in December 10 to 11, so nag-exchange ang akong slide. But you can see there, even a young child, that's my son, he also did sketch works on the epics. He was only, I think, grade 2 at the time, 8 years old. And from the stories I gave him, that I read to him about the epic, in his mind, he was able to create characters from the stories that I
Hello, Miss Sarah. I think we're having some technical difficulties. So to our participants, I know you're very much enjoying and soaking those information. We can have like Miss Sarah. For now, I suggest you can take down notes. Also, your questions, you can already use our chat box to just put your questions there. So later, we will be reviewing it and we will be consolidate na siya namon, and then we will have that asked sa ating mga speakers after sang ating mga reactors later. So yes, you can utilize our chat box. And for those nga ara sa ating nga Facebook Live, feel free to comment your questions and whatever you want to say sa ating speakers, because we will also have the privilege of asking them later. And so we're just waiting for Ms. Rara to get back to our Zoom meeting. Yeah, later we will ask if the books are available in Ilawaka. Last time we have, I think yesterday when I asked Ms. Rara about that, Iana mentioned actually Shopee. She mentioned Shopee or online stores that you can have that.
Oh, hi, Miss Hazel. I'm sorry, nadula ako. Or yeah, okay.
Oo. Nag-gather lang man kami questions, Miss.
Okay. Sige. I'm using Ma'am Alice, but I'll continue.
Yes,
May I? The
Yes, ma'am.
lang, sige. So next slide, please. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sige. So after that, we had the second conference, the second international conference on heritage, and on the second international conference on intangible heritage. That was in 2018. Okay, so again, we have, I think this time we have like 22 participating countries. Next slide, please. Next slide. We were also, at least now because of those initiatives, so significant results. Of course, we did produce the book now. Makita nyo, I think we have 8 books here. And after publication of the first book, we were able to get an award from the national I think from NBDB, National Book Development Board. So next slide, I think that's going to be part of the next slide. We have Tikum Kadlom. Ang Tikum Kadlom was recognized and cited as the National Book Awardee for as a National Book Awardee for poetry. So we were cited, no, in that, and I think the works that we did were recognized there. Next slide, please.
Wait, nanggid mo Sarah, kaya napatay ang ang PC that we are using. So we're pulling it back now.
Okay.
Yan. Ay. Sige, for the meantime, Ms. Sarah, may question really about mula sa books. Or is it available na daw outside the Philippines? Or is there a way to be shipped abroad?
To be shipped abroad pa siguro, even at this time. I'm because sa Lazada pa lang siya. So, pero I think na may nakita naman ako sa Amazon.
Maybe they can cater na, no?
But yeah, but it's just available at Lazada right now, and press, and at the same time it is copy. We have not wala pa kita Abi at this time sang e-copy or e-version niya.
Is it also available?
Oh, what is the concept of aswang? Do I answer that or later?
Siguro. Kasi ma-discuss mo siya, bala karon ni Doc Magos para
Hello?
Sa public. Yes, miss?
Yes. Oo. Sige. May ara na kita, ano?
We're pulling it up. Muna.
So,
available siya kung may sa ilang kaso bong ang mga, mga books.
Yeah, it's still available at the University of Philippine Press. They can check. They can check at Lazada and even Shopee, because UP Press is available at Lazada and Shopee, so they can buy anytime. Pero wala pa kami we have not gone through the e-copy version or the digitized version online. Wala pa. I think we did the first one with Tikum Kadlom, pero I think there was a problem. Kay it was parang daw na-copy siya or so doon stop ang pag-sell online through isang digitized version.
So may illegal nga po. Pero is there a physical store in Iloilo where they can buy it? May ara, miss?
Wala. Actually, kami ni Ma'am Alice last time, we have copies here. Galing nabudlayan kami, especially after the pandemic. Do kabudlay man dayon mag-deliver sa tao who's going to buy it. So we'd rather that they buy it online through Lazada and Shopee. Kasi sa resort to delivering it with this pandemic, I think it's really hard.
Though ka-friendly sang online for everybody.
Yeah.
So
actually, we have not gone to really, aggressively selling, because as far as the UP Press is concerned, sabi nila that if we wait muna for the rest of the versions to come out, kay 10 titles with 10 epics with 13 titles. Actually, may isa na kami. May additional that we did. We have a 14th title now with a glossary, and bago pa lang namon natapos. That's kumbaga that's the epilogue of the epic. Amo to na baling nag-close ang epic world, because in the last story nasunog ang bilog na kalibutan sang epic. So amo na siya. And siguro, so even without the tapuson ko na lang yung presentation, can just later. I think there are just a lot of because of the epics na embrace ng mga Panay Bukidnon ang culture. At the same time, now they are really too proud to wear the attire, the garb, no? That actually that was again recreated. Kay
because at that time, sang nag-research kami ni Ma'am Alice, okay, we can see that these are the significant results of the materials that we did. So we have a National Book Award from the National Book and Development Board. Okay, next slide, please. Up na lang because and significant result, may mga book documentaries na that are done about the Panay Bukidnon, aside from publications of the epics. Nag-participate naman ang mga IP teachers naton who are nieces of Caballero, no? Mr. Federico Caballero. They're joining conferences and are presenting papers about their cultures themselves. So there were awards of the teachers. There were awards that were, that were given to them. And so amo na even kumbaga they are too proud to present their culture wherever they are. Kay gin-recreate man ang costume. We actually we don't want to call that costume. That's really their attire, no, or their garb as during special events. Ginbuhi pagidliwat the activity ginbuhi ang mga disenyo, the designs were recreated in cotton cloth, which were originally abaca cloth, a very, very fine abaca cloth. Next slide, please. And we are talking about some awards. There were Batubalani awardees, our teachers in Central Panay. Then there were the epics were transferred to other genres. May mga visual narratives, may performances. There were also films, no, that were done about the epic, and a lot more. So even ang mga Panay Bukidnon, subong anytime, even hindi maskin hindi na kami ni Ma'am Alice ang involved, but they have direct lines with the NCCA and artist groups, and they themselves are working, in propagating cultures themselves. So I think we have given them by doing the research on Panay Bukidnon, we have, I think, started and gave them a platform wherein they are now empowered. They are now empowered, Panay Bukidnons who are too happy and too excited to present their culture to the outside world. So we don't claim fully the credit of that, but I want to, because also of Dr. Magos, because of these initiatives and our fellow researchers on Panay culture, we are now at this stage where Panay culture is, is known all throughout the world. So I think that's just that. So salamat, Gid. We will entertain your questions after this time, after Dr. Alice's presentation. Hello?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss
Miss
Sarah.
Hazel?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your generosity in sharing. Tumuto pa lang no damo nasang I actually have learned a lot damo na ko yan na notes. So now let us welcome Doc Alicia Magos with us. And so hi Doc, good afternoon.
Ayan man nga hapon. Basi mag-dry up ako kag mag-iligay nun.
Ay, maintindihan.
Yeah, intindi ka.
Kaintindi pa man, Doc.
Yeah. Thank you, Rara. And indeed, I didn't regret. In fact, I'm so happy that I made the right decision in my life. That the rest of my 25 and even 30 years or more, was spent doing research. And 80% of this research concerns the indigenous people, most especially on the mountain people of Panay. Well, in fact, I gave the name Panay Bukidnon, no? It is an ethnographer's name to kind of catch them all, no? Because the political boundary is an artificial boundary, no? The people in Garangan or in the margin area are actually people who also came from the inside. Halin sila sa Siya, may mga kamag-anak sa Siya, may mga kamag-anak sa Aniyawan, may kamag-anak sa interior, no? And even in Antique itself, no? The barrio where I first taught, no, actually has an almost similar worldview, no? And that barrio is near. It's just 1 hour walk going to Lawigan and San Joaquin, but even further, mas malayo sa Dao, may town, no? So I didn't regret having worked for the past more than 30 years of my life, no, with the mountain people, no. The Antiqueños themselves, who call themselves Rainon, no, nandiyan lang sa Raya. They're also staying near the Majaas mountain range. And then you'll just walk a little bit, kamag-anak nilang Tagalilo. Rara's relatives, for instance, no, are from Balderrama. And Balderrama is just, it's just a throw to Bugasong and then Lawaan, no? And the hunters, the hunters from Antique who went to Aklan, no? Boundary of Aklan and Antique, actually also galing sila sa Antique, they married the Aklan women sa interior na part and then became also the Rhino, no? So really, this idea of the political boundaries such that it somehow separates us when we say, taga Lilo takon, ay taga Antique takon, ay taga ano takon. But actually, we have one and the same culture, especially when we talk about pre-colonial culture. So that's why I really like the idea of me engrossing more or putting more time on the epics, even if there were times when I got sick, but it's worth the time and the energy that you put into it. And in fact, what's nice or very entertaining about the Panay epics, is the mythical aspect, which was already mentioned by Rara. It's the mythical aspect. When you say myth, then it tells about the deities, and mga gods and then goddesses. So you can't help but think of a 7-layered universe when you talk about mythology, when you talk about the deities. Okay, for instance, this one, the Antiqueño mountain people have almost the same. They have the same beliefs. The 7-layered universe. Sa idalong ko di ano na. They call it, there's nothing at the bottom, Ranig. Ranig meaning daw sapin, cover. Then sunod starting from the ground, underneath the ground. Then sunod of the Ranig, where there are no people, you have the Tubignon, you have the sea beings or the spirit beings, And Luyong Kabig is the reina, of the Tubignon, the sea being or spirit beings, Pero ang kapatid niya doon naman sa may kapatid siya sa taas sa Sinday Muro, si Laoncina, si Miyamunmon, kapatid niya yun, and they call each other through gongs, If you want, if people from the lupa will want to say something to the ibabaw nun, to Laoncina, and Laoncina has also asked permission if it concerns people sa Tubignon, because Luyong Kabig, another sister, is there, And this is really very interesting, Tubignon, then Idalmonon. This is just the area underneath the lupa. As the word itself, dalo, meaning underneath. Now we have the lulid, we have the tibsukan, we have the talayhang, lulid ang parang kamukha nito ng parang piglets na halos kung tingnan mo parang walang fit, but actually mayroong fit pero parang hindi mo kita, and it moves by rolling. Then meron man may mga tulayang, matibsukan, names like that, no? Lupanon, people, no? Of course, this concerns the earthlings, the people like us, no? But we live with numerous beings like the Encantos, the Sigbin, or the Bawa, or some other spirits, no? The Gante, no? These are beings which we don't like to live with, but since they're there, then we have a way of relating to them. That is through rituals, no? But of course, if you're a Christian, you have a way of driving them away, no? Yes, you. Hazel would know this, no? Lupanon. Then above the Lupanon, you have the Kanginan. Then you must be familiar with Kanginan. Are you familiar with hubot? It's a bird. It's a flying bird, but at a distance, makikita mo na parang payong. Then, together with the hubot, we have also another being where it's half horse and half human being. It has slipped my memory, but later on I would know. I would know, no? So that would be the ibabaw nun, no? Then sunod the langit nun, no? So in the langit there, since we don't have, or our pre-colonial ancestors don't have an idea of the being the creator, the king of all kings and the lord of all lords at that time, no? Wala pa, hindi pa na-introduce ang Christianity. So ang alam nila lang pag nasa langit, nandyan ang mga langit no, nandyan sa Sinday Muro, mga kapatid yan o mga kamag-anak, close relatives niya no, ni Laonsina and Miniamunmon, no? But below that, no, just before that, no, sa ibabaw nun, 6 layer, no, we have human ibabaw nun, we have human mediators. The deceased ang mga namatay na mga babaylan, mga maaram, and all that, no? And their task is to intercede for us, no? But no, I would just like to add this, no? It's very interesting on my part to know that many of the babaylan or the maaram, no, knowledgeable people or the babaylan or pagsiruan, no, hindi pa masyadong nakagraduate yun sa no? Medyo small rituals lang alam nila, no? But many of them, at least I know, naging sila, it's either na sila mismo ay naging pastor, naging Christian, no? Christian pastor, o kaya ang mga anak noon ng mga ng mga informants ko ay nagiging pastor. At least 3 of them. One, I'll just mention, no? One time when I was doing field work sa coastal area, no? Kasi from the mountain, pupunta na rin ako sa coast to check, no? Because I also did maritime anthropology. I was so afraid because a young man was going towards me. Sabi ko do, amo gini si anay, I don't like to give the name, no? Nag-uuya to siya sang binangon, no? Napasakaan no? Only to find out 5 years after, when I went back to the same place, ay nagatudlo na siya sa nandyan na sa mga blackboard niya, sa doon na siya, no? Sa mga biblical lines. Sabi ko, wow, it's amazing, how God can work on the minds of people, no? And in fact, some of my maaram or babaylan informants at the time, no, may ara gid nga different gid sa iba. May ara gid nga it seems like nandyan ang mga pamulong niya, mga ginagamit niya ng mga paraphernalia. Pero he is calling a Christian God, but all others the babaylan it, but then he's calling a Christian God, no? Then that babaylan, no, ang isang anak niya naging umuwi nga sa daon, no, 2 years ago, no? Yeah, kaya about 2 years ago lang. Kasi namatay ang ang mother niya nga, who was singawad or assistant ng babaylan, no? So kadami ng kwan eh. That's why ang aking research hindi ko lang talaga hindi ko ma-contain sa isang yan, no? Although I can contain it, if people want to ask me something just about that, I can give it to them, no? But I would even prefer a smaller group, mas makambal pa ko, little bit na smaller group, no? But just to tell you that something which would be most interesting to the artist, I think, would be the 7 layers of the world, no? Yeah, because you would have a great time there interpreting it. Like for instance, si Boyet Sulwaga, who is now with the NCCA, no? He painted he interpreted the 7 layers of the world by and had it published together with my very short article on the Iloilo book, which was published in the early 1990s. Baka mga 1992 yan, no? Or even before, but it's not the present na maliliit na mga Iloilo books, no? It's early 1990s, no? I presume you would also want to know kung anong structure ng epics. Ang structure ng epics, no, is such that ang chanter is a narrator. Siya man nag-istorya, siya nag-narrate. He is a narrator. But at the same time, he or she, because chanters can be men or women, no? Although original chanters, many of them are women, are binukot women, babaylan, no? And at the same time, the chanter is a commentator. Siyang nag-narrate, nag-umpisa, no? And would tell something, no? And then he or she would also comment. Naka-commentator siya. Then at one point, he becomes also an actor or an actress, no? Kung babae ang character. But at the middle of there are also epics, no? Where Taghoy, who is a spirit being, no, would go and then talk to the main character, and then pag i-chant yun ng epic chanter, ang labas si Taghoy, o kung siya mismo, if it's acting the role of Taghoy, he becomes an intriguer, an insinuator. Pero sila ko budlay, no? Grabe ang role ng mga epic chanters. Naging 4-in-1 ang role nila. Not like the characters now, na sa mga movies na isa lang talagang no? Mostly, no? Pero itong sa epic chanters, 3 o 4 ang roles nila. Narrator, commentator, actor or actress, no? And then an insinuator. So why is the Sugidanon or the epic narratives so important? Of course, may mga kita, especially the Panay Sugidanon. I'm more concerned with that, no? Why is it that important? May ara man sa may south, kundi may ara man nga may darangin, may sa north, you have the Udhud, Alim, no? But I'm proud to say, you people of Panay, especially you people from from the epic chanters of interior, Tapas, and then Iloilo, and even magkamag-anak na sila kasi ng mga chanters na rin doon sa sa Antique. You know what? They are actually also mga kuwan na sila they know how to they're very good actors and actresses in the sense nakabalo sila mga change na nila, facial expression nila, even ang voice nila. Like for instance, kapatid ng Pidring, si Mulok, si Romulo, no? They're really that versatile talaga, no? Now the epics are long. One long epic is called Ebulos, no? But there are also bulos, say 3, 4, 5 kabulos that is included in one big title. Like for instance, ang Humadapnon, no? Humadapnon. Under Humadapnon, we have Humadapnon sa Tarangban. We have Balukat Kabiday. We have Hungaw. And then we have at the last title, it has something to do with I forgot, no? But the point that I'm trying to say here is napakahaba talaga ng epics, no? Because according to Nung Pidring, ang one alone, the 10 epics in 12 or 13 book titles, no? If told every other night, hindi pwede na nightly kaya mapatay ka sa sa kakapoy, no? Sa tuyo, no? Matapos nila na sa isa ka tuig or even more than a year, no? So tamang-tama kasi wala namang TV noon, walang television, walang radio, no? So that is just their nightly entertainment, no? And the members of the family, mga apo, mga tiyo or tiya, mga kamag-anak na kung meron silang isang family diyan, it is the chanter who entertains them. Limbawa, galing sa isang wedding, no? While waiting for the sun to go down, no, it is the chanter who tells a story. Tapos nakahigda lang siya sa may duyan, no? Imagining as if his Humadapnon sailing on a boat, no? So he entertains the group of the audience who are not only his family members, no, but are his relatives kasi isa kang magkamag-anak ng sila lahat sa bukid, no? You can trace them as first cousin, second cousins, and all that, no? For instance, si Mrs. Lamy, who is now doing painting works ang mga tubok in London, no, is the niece of Nang Lusing, and is also the niece of yung namatay bla na nabigay tayo ng tribute. Oo, sa may can you remember that? Somebody, it just skipped my mind, no? But quite recently, a binukot or an ex-binukot, no, died, and the people, Kapis, initiated with our help, of course, because we gabuligay mo kita, no? And then we gave a tribute to that woman. Now, what is so nice about the epics, no, is that, no, they can be told and retold, and yet it assumes a different form. Pero ang kanay Nung Pidring at saka kanay Lula Susa, no, it's I call it vertical transmission. Halin sa malam sa kamalaman, halin kay Sirakan or even before Sirakan, down to the 5th generation or 6th generation or 7th generation to Nung Pidring, no, halos konti lang nagbago. Why? Because galing sa isang family lang yan. Ginaritold lang sa mga apo and then so on. That's why the variation is very, very But in the case of chanters na nagpamati sa sa kanday Lola Sosa, kagin panuhan dira gin initiate, no, like kay Ulang Udig, ti kwan Manilan si Ulang Udig mo ilang mga pakarawana na Nung Pidring, no. From there, then magadto siya dito sa Lambunaw, nagaiba nagabari because that is horizontal translation. It's horizontal movement. So we have vertical translation, then horizontal translation. No, we are not saying here nga salata na ang kwan, mali ang horizontal translation. We are just trying to, I'm trying to say there is that the reason why epics vary is because their spread can either be up, no, alin sa babaw panaog, or from the center going to other places, like that, no. Amo may variation, no. So that's the reason why Dr. Rocano's version is different from the version that Rara and I have, no, because we got ours from Lola Sosa, and then in fact the first 3 or 4 epics, no, before Lola Sosa died, no, was given to us by Lola Sosa himself, no, na napamahal si Rara sa kanya dahil sa kamukha daw ng kanyang apo si Rara. So maganda naman itong you treat them as if they are really blood relatives, because out of that you get may mga favors ka, no. See, they help you, no, they assist you, no, they tell you what else is there that could help us and that could help them at the same time. Like Lola Sosa, no, after Lola Sosa died, no, we cannot go to the mountains. We just gave money because it was typhoon signal number 2, no. We had a meeting with the children, mga 7, mga living children niya, from Nong Pedring down, no, to Pulding, to Mulok, no, down, no. We told them that we are so concerned about the status of the epics. Kaya napatay na si Lola Sosa, no, amo lang ni nakuha namon kulang kag importante ini, no, because it tells a lot about who we are before Europeans came, and it is something that we should be proud of. Well, in fact, I would tell Nong Pedring, nung hindi ka magid mi uya kay epic nyo, ha, sila Nong Pedring na hambal sa amon nga manol kami mo, hindi, no, ang taga Banwa, among manol sila kundi kamo, akan kamog jagani, you should be proud of it, no. So it has gotten, no, so much so that, as what Rara said, it becomes a platform for empowerment, no. Ang isa ka kamag-anak ni hinablos ni Nang Lusing, the wife of Nong Pedring, no, who is staying in London now, no, has a special exhibit, no, where foreign visitors were invited about the book in Panay, about the book, no. And he's so interested in that book such that naging bakal na ang mga tubok sa iyang mga tiya niya, kay silin niya, kabalo makamo na iya maghimo, dalalaan nito kay ipakita ta dito sa, no. So that's why, no, ang hambal dito sa embassy, sa London Embassy, that was last year, I think, when we have they had an exhibit sila, the weavers of the Philippines, or the manugtubok of the Philippines, no. But see, hindi man taga Manila, hindi man taga Mindanao, hindi man taga ang nagpanubok santo, which was painted by Rosalima, no. It was people from from Garangan, and people from Nayawan. Kaya ang taga Garangan, halin na sila Garangan Kalinog, no, sa boundary. Halin ang ilang ancestors dito na sila, halin sa Sulon, sa Niyawan, dito on that area or even more, no. So kanami sa mga epics wala, no, I cannot tell them one by one, no, but that's why I later on, if situations are not like this, na nagaano lang kita, I would like to talk to a smaller group, no, a group of say 8, 10, or 11, 12, no, because the epics are just so fascinating, no. Like for instance, no, one of my favorite the favorite sketches that I cannot forget is one made by Maru. Maru din ka? That's made by Maru Alayon. Look, no? Ang kalampay, oh. Look at kalampay. Oh. Look at the cover of this, the cover of this 5th epic, Kalampay. Anong natabo sa Kalampay? Because we are a maritime society. Taga-bundok, but that story shows that the ancestors must have come from the lowland, because the setting of practically almost all no, except for the first epic, which is a foregrounder, no, is near the sea lane or near the river bend, near the Gibungan, where the mouth of the river ends going to the sea, the Gibungan or the Gibungan. Kasi what happened here sa sa Kalampay? Masang Ladon, who lives in Panublion there. It's an area, it's a spring, but it goes down to the bottom of the sea, to the undersea world, no? Was so enamored with Matanayon that he caused a crab to crawl from the far areas, dito na sa mga bukid-bukid, to crawl, and for many months and months, till the crab or the kalampay, is able to go to the to the sea, and then he caused the crab, to become an island. Parang tanaw no blado, island full of betel nuts, an island full of bunga blaw, arekanat, ginamama blaw, no? Oo. Pagkatapos, nawili si Matanayon panguwa sang arekanat o bunga. Kaysang una ang arekanat o bunga, bali sirbi, ina mo do para sang aton nga may bisita, gani, paimnasang coke, o paimnasang kape, o dyan, no? So, it's that, no? It's a form of hospitality, but at the same time, if the binukot or if the lady, the woman gives that to a man, no? That means she likes the man. Oo. Kung magambal ang lalaki nga, itiladi ako, umuwi ako kanganga, umuwi ako kabunga, kag ipatihon niya, there is a mutual understanding there na nagustuhan niya, no? So nagpamilit gid ining si Kwan, si Matanayon, nagpamilit gid sa iya nga yaya, kaya kada binukot maiyagid nga Kwan balo nang daw nagayaya sa iya, no? Nabamilit nga dali lang ginawa. Manguha ako sang Kwan, sang arekanat, sang bunga dito, kaya lapit na lang dira, it's just a walking distance. Kagkon may tubi, man siguro, gamay mo lang tubi. Pagkanto na dito, nawili siya iya sang Kwan. Nawili si Matanayon. Kapanguha sang damo-damo nga mga bunga. Ari siya. And before she realized it, the island, which was actually a huge crab, was already moving or moving towards the sea. Hasta dito, naging sa tunga na. Isang balik doon ni Matanayon, tabo sa ako? Abaw, agla si Masang Ladon nga, here I am. Dito na nag-waiting ang iyang handsome man. Masang Ladon thinks he is so handsome that Matanayon would fell in love with him rather, no? Pero Matanayon was already crying, no? Kay idalon gid ni Masang Ladon sa idalom under the sea world. Kag maagi ina sa maagi sa ilok sang Kalampay. Dira ka maagi dalon didto, panaog sa undersea world didto, kay may nagahulat didto. Kay didto si Masang Ladon nga nagahulat. Oo. So just take a look at it, no? So artists would really have a grand time. In fact, siguro, you would even fell in love with the love story of Matanayon. And then Masang Ladon na naghibi si Matanayon kay hindi siya kay Masang Ladon. Ti anon mo kay ato na sa dalom ginera ito. So there are many parts of the stories. No? In fact, this is another paper thereon. Parts of the epic which shows that we are a maritime society. The epic people are lives in a maritime society. Ang una lang which mentions the forest, no, is the foregrounding epic na medyo manipis compared sa iba, Tikum Kadlom. Tikum Kadulom, a black dog with a curved tail, no, amoy na ang gindala ni ni Paiburong nga dog sa kanyang hunting spree. Pero kung hindi magaling ng dog sa dalom sang kawayan, may kawayan din nga daw it's a special variety, parang daw yellowish brown, no? Ang iyang iyang kahoy. Sa kaakig niya gintapas niya kawayan kag nagbog no hulog daw niya ng ang bell, that bell-shaped object, no? So nagganto si ang that man eating giant, yung makabagting sila niya ang akong tuos ginano mo. That's a tuos from our mother, from our grandparents, that anyone would that magbasag sang tuos nga na will have to pay for it, no? So ang gin-promise nga ibayad niya parang hindi siya pagpatyon among duha niya ka bata. Amo there were 2 children there, no? One of them basta duha niya ka bata, no? But what I'm trying to say is that sa pulo ka epic, ang foregrounding epic lang has a setting nga dito sa forest. Ang the rest sa sa maritime na o kaya ay malapit sa sea, sa sea bend, sa Iskina, no? Or even ang Alayaw. Because sa Alayaw does not mention about not so much of the sea flower yun mabango na flower. I would ask a chanter, no, dinta na yun ang dagat, din ang river bend. He knows what to answer, no? Ang ibagali nga mga sa epics, no? Hindi tanan masulod, kaya sa epics may mo. There's a style, no? There's a symmetry. So kung hindi mo masulod dira, no? The could tell you, the chanter will tell you where is it. So tama niya kalawid ng ako ng sinuti kay So I would just like to say, that there is so much that you can get from the epics, no? There is just so much you can get from the epic. That one setting like this, no, 15 minutes, it's just it's lang naka, no? There is just so much to be found in the epics, no? And later on, no, if we should have a small group and talk about it, no? I would like also to say that ang lalim at saka ang ganda ng analysis niya, no? Analysis ni Neil Garcia of the printing press, no? There's masyadong malalim ang niya. Ang mga epic people daw, no? They have a way of putting radiance and meaning into their poetry, because the narrative is basically it's a form of poetry which is chanted, no? They have a way of putting it in such a way na mapin down nilang memory, so they put it into a form like this. But what brilliant ancestors do we have na when you compare sa the Aeneid ang dito bala sa sa Rome. What were those 2 epics, the famous epics that were told to us sa class naman noon? The Odyssey, something about the Odyssey, no? Hindi maka-comparison because this one, no, in length would be about, it's more than 85,000 verses, lines, no? Initial estimated count pa lang na, but it's more than that, no? So be proud that you are Panaynons. Be proud that our ancestors are epic people, are mountain peoples, but my suspicion was that they came from the sea and then moved inward. So thank you, and I wish that in the future, no, I could go back to Capiz, because it's a place where I first like the people, sina Cheche, especially sina diyan sa
Si
diyan
Maru.
sa National Museum, si Maru. Sino
Hi,
pa?
Doc. Ari ko din. Si Cheche.
Yes, no. Yes, si Cheche, no. Yeah. And of course, diyan sa sa LGU ninyo, dira, no.
Si Sir Al.
Si Al Tesoro.
Tesoro.
Al Tesoro, my dear. I'm so glad na na-capture mo kaagad ang desire sa heart ko nga ining mga tubok, mga epic and all that, that they be taught and that they be embedded on the hearts and the minds of people. Depende kung artist, kung ano nagustuhan niya, depende kung he's more of a poet or if he's more of a narrator, a storyteller, or if it's more of a manugtubok. Oo. Kita mo, I'm so glad. No? Kita mo si Rara. Rara was only 21 years old at the time. Now that was, how long was that? 30 years ago.
Golden Girl.
I was only, when I started the epics, I was only, wala pa ako mag 41 santo. That was, later on, I became 41. That was, I think I started thinking of it in 1983 na, 1982. Wala pa gani, Feeling ko, time will come and I'll go there, But I'm so glad,
Grabe, 10 years, 1 decade of contemplation. Doc.
Yes, but even the pandemic would not stop us. Yeah, we will continue working. We will continue. And the one nice thing about the pandemic is I was able to read more of the Bible and found out that people in the Old Testament are just like our ancestors. They go for more than 2 wives. Kay gamay ang gamay ang tao at that time. So there are a lot of characteristics which I can see as similar. So thank you.
Doc, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate that. Actually, ang chat box mo sa Zoom is flooding with messages. They really miss hearing you. They're very much thankful and for this opportunity. Pero we at EyeCan, we are very, very much thankful to you and Miss Rara for sparing your time. Gid siya, it actually fired up again sa amon na passion of actually being able to educate people more about sa Sugidanon. We really are proud to be from Panay, to be Filipino. So your research only proves nga gid siya, Doc. There's really so much to discover pagid. So at this moment, we would really would like to call on our reactor for this afternoon. Also, we're thankful for this person kay we have contacted him lately na wala tapos sa niya. He's very much interested and willing to be a reactor for this afternoon. So I would like to call on Sir Mark Durana. He is actually a senior high school teacher at Inso Alnado Village Integrated School, also here in Rojas City. He's also a Doctor of Education major in Science Education. And in 2019, he is the SDO Rojas City Outstanding Researcher and also a presenter for 2019 International Conference for Cultural Statistics and Creative Economy, and is a contributor for Bilangan 2 of the National Commission for the Culture and the Arts. So everyone, help me welcome Sir Mark Duran.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am Hazel, am I audible?
Yes, you
Okay,
are,
thank
sir.
Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to extend my, shall I say, gratitude for the shared inspiration, especially for Dr. Magos and Professor Rara. Honestly, Doc and Ma'am Hazel, should I address you correctly? No. On the background, I am really inspired, with those thoughts that you have shared, especially the experiences, at the same time the in-depth. Honestly, Doc, while I am listening to you, I really felt the heart, the heart and the heart that you put in your cultural work that is really worth emulating for us, especially in the field of education. At the same time, you two are all working for the purpose of preserving and conserving our intangible heritage, more than the tangible heritage, intangible heritage, which is a trace of declining and loss. As I go along with, or as I deal with the talks that you had previously, there were some points or key points that I would like to share in the group virtually, especially on the synthesis, the synthesis part of your talk. So one thing that I would like to highlight, 3 points rather, that I would like to highlight. So the first point that I would like to highlight is, I really see here the beauty of cultural research and cultural work. Who could ever imagine, Doc, no, and Ma'am Raran, that your cultural research had transcended already? Most of the time, no, people will say na when we talk about culture and when we talk about research, is something boring, and most of the people would not appreciate it at all. But looking at this kind of initiatives that Ma'am Rara had presented, transcending the results or the findings that you have in your research, no, in different platforms, maybe in the art, maybe in visual arts, performance arts, writings, no, you could see here that ano siya, it is alive. It is alive, and the people are embracing it. And I am so thankful for that, because it goes to show that right now, though there is the threat of modernization and globalization, at the same time, the loss of the interest of youth of these things, no? Kasi just like what you have said, Doc, no, that most of the youth or most of the people would say that culture and research, culture per se, is something that is bouquet, no, a while ago. But we could see here that people are keep on embracing this. Another thing that I would like also to highlight, no, at the same time to share, as what had transpired during your talk, is the challenge to cultural preservation and conservation is really real. You have highlighted in your talk that most of the people, as what I have said, no, most of the people there would tag it as something bookie or something that is not out of the blue, or it is on the outskirt, kumbaga. It is a challenge indeed. At the same time, another challenge that we're all facing here is about the challenge of modernization, that we could not deny the fact that as we are going to the modernized level of the society, there's a lot of factors that really affects, no, the way that, or the call towards the preservation and the conservation of this intangible heritage. And another thing also is the evolution or the changes that is happening. And the third one that I would like to share also, third point I'd like to share also, is that there is a call for every one of us here, not only for you, no, because honestly, you have served as an inspiration, worthy of emulation for all of us. There's a call for every one of us, whether you are in the field of education, whether you're in the field of empowerment, or in whatever field that you are in. There's a call for us to really take that positive action. That positive action to take our role, to take at least, no, a part of us na we should do something. Because this is us. Culture is us. Culture is not the culture of Panay Bukidnon. Their lives, their rituals, their living practices, their way of living is not only confined to them. As we all know naman that they're our ancestors, and we should embrace it. And as part of it, we should also take our own part, our own fair share, our own way of contribution. So these were the beautiful things that I have observed, and I have, shall I use this vernacular, nga nagpanalupsop sa akon nga mga kaugatan samtang pamati ako, Doc, sa presentation, and Prof. Rara for the presentation. It really inspired me as a teacher. No, one comment that I have saw in the chat box is there something ginagawa ba ng DepEd or any government agency in as far as education is concerned that is connected to this kind of initiatives? No, in my own personal take for this, no, right now, as what Ma'am Rara had said kanina, that the K-12 program of the Department of Education is, or the basic education program of the Department of Education is more inclined right now of contextualizing things. Like, for example, what Sir Jesus Ensalada is doing in his own station. And this resonates me, no, that as a teacher, I should do something na hindi porket nandito kami sa, shall I say, sa city, no? We should not take for granted all these things, no? Kasi we should do our own fair contribution for that. And with that also, and as part of the task that is given to me, is to ask questions. So I would not take this too long because I know some of the participants, virtual participants, are really excited to ask questions at the same time, to hear the responses from you as we read, no, from the Zoom room that we have. Two questions lang po ang i-ask. I would like to throw away for the both of you, ma'am. The first question is, I know either way lang or kahit sino lang yung pong mag-answer. So the first question is, I am quite interested with this 7-layered concept of
The world, the universe.
the world or the worldview nila. So my question is, where did they got this kind of concept? Saan ito nanggaling yung concept nila? And the second question is, we'll focus on the technical aspect as a researcher also. Is there any consideration ba dito? Kasi as what you have said, Doc Alice, no, that there are two types of transmission or translation is happening as we have these oral traditions, no, the vertical and the horizontal, and it really affected the way it is being documented, the way it is being captured because of the varying, shall I say, the various versions. Kasi iba yung pag dito, pag ganyan. In fact, it is also, shall I say, very very obvious with the work of you at the same time with the work of Dr. Hocano. As what Ma'am Rara had said also, when you read the work of Dr. Hocano, just read first the work of Dr. Hocano, then followed with Dr. Magos. So, my question is it okay po ba na magkaganito, or is there any problem, or is it an issue or a concern? Especially in doing our documentation capturing of this information. That would be the two questions that we'd like to throw. Thank you po. And once again, my heart is delighted. My heart is very full to be part of this.
Thank you, Mark Antonino. Let me just say a few things. Because you mentioned about Dr. Insulada, you know, it has been my long desire that he should be there because he deserves the position. No? And I gave quite a mild way of, how would I say it? Not influence. Binigyan ko ang bagong superintendent na, I think superintendent na sa kapis, ng copy ng the copy of our Danyag, no? Where there are contributors. Danyag bago na ginawa ng Social Sciences and Humanities Review, which is now getting circulated worldwide, no? So ang tanan nga mga IP nga may talent, ginawa akong sadyayon sa utok ko. Ginawa akong writer sila. Oo. And sabi ko I told our chancellor, no, not the present chancellor, na sabi ko, this is now the year of the indigenous the indigenous people of the world. Why don't we make a special issue to honor these indigenous people of the world, no? But because we are from Panay and we are from the Philippines, let us start by putting out an issue where we could invite the writers who are close relatives of our chanters. So sa part 1, ati writer and then mga writers na anak o kamag-anak ng chanters, no? Kasi si Jess Encelada, kamag-anak yun nung Pedring ng mga kabalyero, no? And at the same time, ang sa second part 2 naman sang Danyag na yan, no? That's a way of, kind of lifting the work, the dignity, and of making it as a venue for empowerment, no? Ang mga scholars who wrote something about them or an aspect of the epic, no, or some other works basta related to that, no, sa part 2 lang kami like kanday Ma'am Christine and Sir mga teachers, professors sa UP, part 2 lang sila. Araw lang sila sa part 2. So, ang reason ko kasi, no, that's part of my passion to help them. Sabi ko, kasi sabi ng isang ng faculty, bakit maroon ba yan sila sumulat ng paper at kung research? Siyempre di turuan, sabi ko si marunong naman yan sila di turuan. Sabi ko, madali silang turuan. Sabi ko, no? Ano, no? And then later on, kasi part of empowering. Ang cover ng kwan, ng itong the so-called NYAG na bago ng name, no? Philippine Social Sciences Humanities Review. Sabi ko, hindi patadyong, ang korte is patadyong. Let's put the book inside it. Inside the patadyong, makita nyo yun sa I hope nadala ko ang copy, no? Linagyan ng mga designs ng tubok. Sabi ko, let us make designs of the tubok. Hindi maganda. Lumabas doon ng mga designs like this. Yes, part of these designs din. So at the same time, parang it's already, kumbaga sa gina-advertise mo na ang kanilang tubok, no? So, because of that, nabigyan ng we call it, ng boost para ng moral, no? Kasi nandiyan ang mga writers sila bakit? Ano ba? So I'm so glad, no, that nakita nga napuntos ito ng ng nabasa siguro ng ating division superintendent at nakita niya na ang mga writers are indigenous people, no? So, and isang reason pa kung bakit they should be proud ang mga kamag-anak ni Nung Pedring and then the others, not only kamag-anak, kasi lahat naman sila kamag-anak ko. You know, they were invited to go to New York sa isang presentation doon, no? So sabi sa akin ng anak ni Nung Pedring na, Ma'am, makadto na kami sa New York. Na-delay lang because naabutan ng COVID, no? But that's how teaching them to be proud of what they have, no, and putting up the School for Living Tradition can help them. O tingnan mo ito. Lahat ito, mga designs ito ng panit ng magkal, mga ferns along the way, mga sikag-sikag, and all that. It's beautiful, no? That's why I also have this. No? Ito, mga design inspired with the mountains. So, ang isa pa pala noon, no? Don't be to anyone who is initiating or doing something na tila yata tinitingnan mo, nag-iisa ka lang, nag-iisa lang ako sa DepEd, nag-iisa ako sa aming school. Ako noon, while I was walking, primero pa lang pagpunta ko, no? And then implementing this thing, no? Conceptualizing, and then there were times na nag-iisa akong naglalakad pakadto sa babaw, no? Kasi mountain pa na not like ng subong ginflatten ng portion pakadto sa because of this dam na no. I was telling myself when my tears were falling down, I said, Lord, kahit na mag-iisa ako sa mundo na gumagawa nito o naniwala nito, no? Just assuming at the time, sabi ko, I still believe that what I'm doing is right. Basta I still believe that what I'm doing is right. And I'm glad that many people, no, in the process, no, nakaano na rin sila, nakagising na rin sa katotohanan, and they can even make beautiful things, na like this one. Ako hindi naman ako marunong gumawa nito o sila. Ang ginawa ko lang naman, in-inspire ko sila by building the first School for Living Tradition. Of course, there were agencies like NCCA who helped in the funding. Maliit lang noon ang funding. The NCIP, no, who helped us, and then Rara was willing to do some sacrifices to stay there in the bundok because I have to go down and then teach, no? So, for as long as at least 1 or 2% naniwala ka na tama ang yung ginagawa, maski pang gagawin no? Wala talagang, nothing could shake my mind, no? So you see now, I'm so glad, I'm so happy. Ang kadami ng mga taong, they want to do something out of this. Kay Dr. Ocano naman, no? Kundi ang aming iba, no? Professor si Dr. Ocano, si Dr. Manuel, Arsenio Manuel, the Dean of Philippine Folklore, no, was my professor also in 5 subjects. And wonder of wonders, I just did what I thought was best and what I like, and then I got all 5 kauno. So you see, basta you like what you're doing and you put passion into it, makita mong resulta. Ako with or without that high grade given to me by my professor, no, I would still do it because I love it. I love doing it, no. The other thing na nasa isip ko, no, yes, have in mind to love your country first. To love what you have, to love your country, to love its culture, to love its indigenous culture, to do everything para na ipagmamalaki mo ang country mo, ang mga indigenous culture, mga indigenous people mo. Kaya, even if my Fulbright scholarship gave me another stint, because primero wala man sila mag-invite, pero sangkitaan nila nga uno ang grade ko, ang mga kanugli, kag ang mga nugli, they also like to get you. So later on, when I told her that I'm going home now, my turn is, ang akong turno, abi ko sa to stay in this country, no, is over. No, sabi niya, I'm going to give you a new scholarship. No, I said, I'm sorry, but I want to go home and serve my country. So, and I'm still, agad ako, wala agad mag-change ang isip ko as kasubong. No. So, I'm glad that people like you Mark Anthony, and all the other na mga friends, ni Maru, kamo ni Hazel Figueredo, and then Che, I'm so glad na you are there, no? How you started the idea of making a museum na nakapag-attract ng attention ng ibang tao, no? Kaya instead na 3 months lang museum na display, ginawang 1 year, no? And Al, I'm so glad kay Al, no, na talagang is doing something to help Capiz by being there in the NCCA. Malaki ang itutulong niya, no? So yun lang talaga you do what you think is right, no? And all others will take concern of what you're doing. And for all you know, that other person or those other people have also an in them, may passion man sila, pero medyo nagahulat lang sila kay man, tama ang passion ni, tama ang nagigimo ko. Ay, akong bahala na basta what I'm doing is right, and what I like what I'm doing, it's my passion. I'll give my whole heart to it, no? So, that's it. Okay? Other people will take pansin about it, no? And then going back like Dr. Cano, baka mag-akala kayo nag-away kami. Hindi Sabi ko sa kanya, niro ko na pumunta siya after nag-retire na siya. Siling ko, duwal imo, ginalahog ko siya, katik ko siya, ginalahog naman ako, man siya. He speaks English with a thick na raya accent. Just like me, I also have my own accent, no? So siling ko, siya, duwal imo, akon pulo gid. Jokingly, no? Of course, no, humanly speaking, no? Siling ko, dali, kanto sa babak, pagkita ko sa imo, adamo ako, no? Do medyo siguro na I could feel nga do iba ang niya, ang damdamin niya, of course, no? But we were walking on the stairs. But when I looked at him, no, kasi ginagad ko siya, silang ko, you know what? Kung ako ma-estudyante, and in the future, I don't know, I could have, no? You can do better than me, or who can write more articles than I did, or who can do other things that I did not do, or I failed to do, or not as good as that. I would be very happy. Ibig sabihin, I am a successful teacher, magaling akong teacher for having produced someone or somebody na talagang dedicated sa trabaho na or who did more. So kundi nga friends na kami ni Dr. Ocano, ang ibig kong sabihin, nang tumingin ako sa kanya, very light-hearted ng mukha niya. It's just a matter of being able to understand each other. No? So, yun lang ang sabihin ko, no?
Okay.
Do your own passion. I cannot do this work alone. No, kung wala si Rara, siguro mahirapan ako nito. Mahirapan talaga ako nito, no? Because during the weekends, I have to go down and then teach. Somebody has to stay in the bundok, no? And then Rara stays in the bundok. And if you don't know how to nang kabalo ka man mag-angga-angga sa tigulang, nga sabi kay Lola Susang to, no? Kabalo si Rara gin mag-angga-angga kay Lola, no? And real gid ang niya kasi si Rara mapinalanggaon man mo, no? Te kundi nga kay nakita niya si Rara, sabi niya, "Uy, may dyan pa mo instead of having only 1, 2 or 3, may dyan pa duro pa, may 4 pa, may 5 pa." Kay tinanamian siya kay Rara, that Rara would even sleep na dyan sa tabi ni Lola Susa. So love our informants as if they're also our grandparents, our grandfather, no? Be very good to their children, and then later on, ang mga children nila na, no? Kung nabalaan nila nga, you didn't go there really to take advantage of them, but to help them, no? They will help you. So tanawa, isang nag-meeting kami after wala na si Lola Sosa. Nagambal sila sa amon. Sila namon ba, kabudado kanugon, gino, kaya wala si Lola sa amon ni. Ay, niya, kabalo mo kami. And they helped us. No? And I'm glad also because lahat mas they were given the credit. In fact, no, we got a very minuscule, little share, no. Si Rara siguro 500, ako siguro a few thousand, 1, 2 or 3. But later on, time will come na kung madamo na siguro ang mag-ano yan, we can also have our little share. But even then, the satisfaction alone, no, of seeing that our indigenous culture is being given center stage, no, is something already na hindi mabayaran, no. So sige lang, gawin mo lang gusto mo lang kung nagtubok ka. You make a lot of tubok and you will have one tubok would cost 2,500 or 5,000. Depende, or 500. Depende sa sa gumagawa at saka sa tela, no. So you see, pwede good. Look for your passion. Look where you can relate your artistry to the epic and to the Okay, no. I talk too much.
Thank you. Yeah, sige, masugpon ako. Amo na balata, mayugid. The initiative is there. Siyempre, ma-initiate lang kami. And tama, ang satisfaction namo ni Ma'am Alice is seeing that everybody is getting, has the interest about what we're doing. So we don't claim authority to, to everything. Kahit like for example, hindi kami kabalo panubok, hindi na kami eksperto dira. But we were glad nga may ara naman nga mga tao naga-follow through. Nga dira man sila nag-concentrate sa embroidery, sa tubok. May ara man nga mga filmmakers nga nagabulig, Panay is such a vast area and a wide area for research. Buruligan, tainitanan, of course, si Ma'am Alice is hindi na kami regularly makasaka sa bukid, and we tanan na lang inaintrahan namon. We are working now on the culture of Antique through the cultural mapping project. So Panay is such a wide area for research that whenever kung baga kay naka-gain interest na gidman, kung baga na it has kung baga na it has na root na bala the Panay culture has established its rootedness in the community, and even to people outside of Panay, mga artists from the Visayas also. So we are really happy. So i-continue nyo lang. There was a question earlier being asked na about the adaptations. Of course, ang epic titles, syempre, gina-interpret naman in other genre, just like films, and if there is a need for the creators to adapt, to go and get the free prior and informed consent. Actually, if the epic, kung epic man lang inyo concern, iniyan naka-free prior and informed consent. Which means, if you get inspiration from the book, pwede gidya, no? But if you get, kung gusto pa ninyo outside of the epic, and siguro you have to go back to the community. Kag i-follow man naton ang what is prescribed by law, get the free prior and informed consent, no? Like kami, because we're doing Antique now, hindi siya a part of this epic, we really did get the free prior and informed consent of the National Commission for Indigenous Peoples. Pero kung mga derivatives naman lang of the Panay epics na published na, because this has a free prior and informed consent, what we did was, you can write us, do a memorandum of agreement with UP and with us, no, as the authors, like Dr. Magos. Kay kami na bahala if it's going to be a partnership with you, pwede gid ninyo as long as inspiration niya is from the epics. Kay may ara na ni siya yung FPIC. So it can be done. Except that we are only asking, of course, our filmmakers at the same time, nga please be true lang bala to what is in the epic. Kay kung kisa like ang natabo bala dito sa tuos, doon naglain na yung inspiration, Yes, ang tuos is a sacred pledge, it's kita gani maskin sa regular farming practice lang sa community, may ginatuos kita gidibla, may ginahigot-higot na dahon dira nga to mark, because that is a special place. So pero kay doon medyo naglain ang effect dito. So I think medyo and besides nobody really wrote us that the movie was inspired by the epic para tani bala nga mag-guide man siya, no, about how we perceive the epics to be. And well, kay ti syempre our engagement with the epics and our work with the epics is na-span na siya how many years. We have more or less an understanding kung paano siya you know, ano ang influence niya, paano siya gamiton in other genre. So I think Dr. Magos is open anytime to give you advice of whatever. And again, we really welcome help from people like all of you who wants to work on Panay culture. And salamat gid also for such events like this that we see each other na syempre ga-validate man nga tama man galing ginaubra namon, no, nga ang pangabudlay syempre talking of ang balik bala sa amon financially. Actually daw natak-an na ako sang fame kay ti syempre gidi bala ginadayaw kami permi. Gusto ko naman tani fortune ti daw wala gini gaabot ang fortune. Siyempre sa Ginoo na lang, ang Ginoo na lang mabalik sina sa amon. We have done with fame so much. Actually, may mga award na kami ni Dr. Magos. Na we were recognized by Inquirer as a top 30, kumbaga 33, one of the 33 people who moved the Philippine communities. Dito ka nami man, no? But siyempre, hindi namon masarangan na kami lang. And we welcome that you join us in this. Salamat din.
Thank you. So, kami man, ma'am, doon na validate mga ginaubra niya siya lang. Anyway, so, again, I would really like to thank everybody. Pero, I don't know, maybe we can go back sa question ni Sir Cagaina. I think that's, kaya mga question already actually, some of it was already addressed throughout ano. Pero atong question ni Sir Mark nga, di inilaging ko ang concept ng 7-layered universe. How do you,
Let me see, no?
That's a worldview. That's a way of life. Sige, ma'am.
Hindi bala, no? Sa una, ang mga tao, even during the time of Columbus or Magellan, no? Kung Magellan was a navigator, gamay lang na sila nga naka-eskwela sa School of Navigation sa isa ka island not too far from Spain, no? But the rest of the people in the world do not think of the world as round. Wala na. Otherwise, hadlukan sila kay basi kung basta wala sa isip nila na, no? They think of the world as flat lang. O kung layered. So kung flat abi no, kundi nga, no, very artistic ang mga Filipinos, ang mga ancestors natin kung flat, kung isa lang may tubig, kundi nga they will add more para maging mga layer. So muna. So they could think that way, no? But they don't think of the world as round. It's a layered world, it's a layered universe. So it's simple kasi to think in terms of layering. Kasi naman nga, ulog ka o kung flat ang tanan-tanan, dira na mga kama-kama, mga gante, mga crabs, kung ano-ano dyan nga isa lang ka-flat, no? So, but if it's layered, no, there's a place for certain things. Di ba? Kabinet, may mga layers man. It's a way of putting things in order. Ang ilalang ng it's their way of thinking.
Sige. I think this is the last one, pero medyo personal ni siya, Doc and Miss Sarah. Who can you relate to the most amongst the characters ko na sa Panay Sugidanon? Nakamute ikaw, Miss Sarah.
Okay. Mauna gid ako because of course others would really want to be matang-ayon, no? Matan-ayon, nagwapa, malitong yawa, nga pinakagwapa nga the deity or sila unsina. Pero ako feeling ko si Amburukay gid ko kay empowered. Di ba? I am empowered and I don't really care about people. I don't really care how people sees me. But I have a good heart. Di ba? Si Amburukay has a good heart. May gambit. She has a gambit para i-save, no? Ang duha ka binukot. And yet, ang ginapakita niya she is perceived to be evil and something to be really, really ugly and hated by all. And yet she has a good heart. So I think gusto ko ganyan, ang burukay ako. Except nga, syempre, I don't want to show you my golden pubic hair because I do not have that.
Ako, I would like
Actually,
to.
sorry, Doc. Sige, go ahead, Doc. Sorry.
Sige, I don't like to be matanayon kasi napakagwapo ka matanayon. Kaya melitong yawa, beautiful maiden with prowess, no? I cannot be all the other women kasi mga 7 damo silang mga asawa, no? Kasi that was a practice at the time, no? I cannot relate with that, no? I just want to be the chapter narrator. Ganun lang. Para so I can see things at a distance sa kabilugan, no? And be somehow a little bit detached, no? I narrate, I act sa akin, sa boses ko lang yun, no? I comment, narrator, commentator, actor, actress, no? Pero sa pag-narrate pa rin yun, no? Pero sa dulo, may intrigador, insinuator, no? While konti lang naman ang nag-ano dyan to show nga si Tago is an intriga or insinuate, no? Ako, I can be an insinuator, pero naman para naman na ano ba, yung mapukaw ang damdamin ng mga kapareho natin na there is always something to be proud of, this something beautiful, something that can be harnessed out of us by reading or by listening to what our ancestors narrate or what they did. So, kita nyo din na inspire si Marudi ganda-ganda ng gwapo ng kanyang dyan.
But I will cut you, ma'am, kay medyo may ka-interesting dire sa chat box. Somebody is asking why is buyong, no? What is buyong referred to? 'Di ba? Kay ang tawag sa mga lord, lord ng translation later, pero later gindelete namon dapat buyong gid siya. Kung but a revered individual. Sige ma'am, you discuss.
Actually, the word buyong, it's not pronounced as buyong. Buyong. It's buyong. Buyong is a brave man, a noble man, yes, a leader, equivalent to a dato, no? Yes, no? But you know, our buyong at the time, nagdala yun ng ano yun, like this part kasi ng papagwapo nila, may dala ng mga talibong, mga dala ng ano. So, ano yan, ano? Yes, did you say something?
Yeah, it's the same as aso, buyong, dato. Galing siguro, syempre, these are pre-Hispanic nga titles that are given. Syempre, di ba, sinong mga nag-revolt after, di ba? After when the Spaniards came, sinong mga maisog. Presumably, these are the buyong and the dato and the amuning nag-revolt. So, syempre, gintag na lang sila sa aton nga mga conquistadores nga
ang buyong ginawang malakas.
Maayo batasa. Ano wala bala? Do mga tulisan. Kaya they went against the authorities, the Spanish authorities.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why the buyong, which is translated sana as a nobleman, o ginawa nilang buyong. So buyong, since they're running away from the lowland authorities who wants them to go down and then surrender. And why should they surrender? Nga surrender sila. Iladuta, no? So ang buyong or dato ni mga buyong muna. I think that's one of the
derogatory na ang meaning later.
Oo. But I was again correct. Ako sa tanong Pedring, hindi na sing buyong. Buyong. Should be buyong. Malumay.
Yeah. And there is a question. Ma'am, there is a question. Ako na nagkamot din.
Okay lang, miss.
There is a question, why do they have binukots, no? Kasi syempre mga, diba, just like any of us, may mga status symbol kita nga gina-aspire. So what I think that time, and having a binukot and being able to support a binukot in your family means that you are well off, rich enough to have, spare somebody to help you work in the farm and, and get get even a help to take care of your binukot. The binukot are really the most special. Ginapangita ini sila like in a barangay. May binukot diri kay they are only like during festivals, regularly hindi mo siya makita kay ginatago siya. Pero kung may mga special events like may mga kasal, may mga Paskwa sa komunidad, ginadala ang binukot kag ginapanayaw. Oo.
Ginapabiste, ginapasaot ka no, binanog, ginapabiste
Yes.
sa pinakatahom.
Kag if they demand a high bride price. Although hindi man siya yapon, syempre western concept na lang na iabala ang nga dapat amo na bala kay like if we really come to look at it, ang Panay Bukidnon community bala polygamous mo, like pwede gani sila magpangasawa nga additionally para kay una binila nga asawa binukot. Tapos pwede sila magdugang asawa pa para maserbi sa binukot nilang asawa. But you know the concept nga hindi pwede na, di ba, west lang na iya. Sa pagpati nila sa at that time, di ba, lain yang gina-introduce sa aton nga concept sang west nga dapat isa lang imo asawa. Nga kung nagadapli ka or nagadugang ka asawa, malain ina. Pero basically the culture of the Panay Bukidnon is really accepted. And it's not anything bad at all. And the bride price is not anything bad at all. Subong lang, kumbaga, may mga cultures naman niya nga nagalain lang yang panglantaw. So, sige ma'am, you can add more.
There are so-called pathogenic aspects of culture. Wala siyang kultura nga perfect man even sa Amerikano that, no? But it so happened na at the time, gamay pa lang ang tao, no? Gamay pa lang ang tao. And it becomes a kind of a prestigious status to spare someone from your family from work. Kasi doon, makaya mo, may manggan ka, may something ka to, may ginatago ka, And it is something kung naggwapa ka nga bata, kagwapo, no? Gwapa, no? Hindi ba? Tama nga kagwapo ka bata na, no? Kagwapa ka bata ni, no? Kaya ginapagwain na siya in rare occasions of the year. Ang binukot nga na, ginapabistihan, kaya ginapasaot, itaw mo siya magsaot, no? Pero ingat, very careful, gid nga anong magsabay ka na, hindi lang madabot, hindi matandag ng lima kay kung hindi mangimon o kung magalit ang mainsulto ang mga parents niya, no? Iti mabudlay na daw, no? Kung talabong mo, no? Pero what I mean is respected, the women are respected, no? Kunti lang naman, very rare ang maging binukot. So it is prestigious talaga, no? And then the idea of having several wives, no? Ang ginpin down na naman ng isa lang mga asawa during the time of the Christians, no? But even before santo, no? Sang Jew tayo palang tao, no? Before the during the time of the Old Testament, may sobra man sa isang asawa nila. In fact, kung gagani ito, at least 2. Oo. Possibly because there are few people at that time. So, and then wala pa naman sing 10 commandments. Lumutang dira ang do shalt not strange ang 10 commandments bilang dili ka mag-ibog sa manggad sang imong sa kitaw, dili ka magpangin babae or things like that, no? Kuan lang man gin-introduce during the New Testament. Diba sa Old Testament wala pa. Ginpatudo mo lang na sang kuan na siya when Jesus Christ when the Father revealed himself, or the Father wants our great Father, no, wants people to know more about himself. So ginalaw niya nga ang virgin birth kay Jesus Christ, and si Jesus Christ naman, no, later on pakita gid ba that is really the Son of God, no, sa Trinity. Tungod kay later on nakita sang about 250 people ma-apostoles sa mo kapasaka siya sa langit. Kag ginambal niya lagi, I'm going to send you somebody's going to ano you when you're sad, kinagambal ay disipulos nga ti wala kagli masubuan kami, I'm going to send you a comforter, I'm going to give you wisdom, no, muna, no. So God does not judge people during those times, no. Ang i-judge naman sang Ginoo ang in the time of the New Testament and what people are doing now. Kasi ang iba naman not contented with having one wife, no, and then hindi mo lang makasagod, and then it will create jealousy and all that, no. So mas mabuti nga concentrate ka lang sa isa, no, unless that wife mapatay or for whatever reason no dyan, no. So it's better, mas mayo gid nga to have only one wife, no. Mas peaceful pa ang family.
So, yun, thank you so much. I know everybody do hindi na mag-untap ang mga questions, no, but I think that's all we have for this afternoon. First and foremost, again, do not an unending thank you gid niya to Miss Rara and Doc Magos for sharing sang inyong I'm sure you will be able to reach them as well, and I know sa questions there are a lot of questions. Miss Kan ako actually would like to go into research, and I encourage everybody to do as well sang amo na nga research, no. Damo na subong sang aton nga mga resources. Yan. So actually damo interested sa mga books. Again, you can go to Shopee and Lazada, di ba lang, Miss Sarah? Yeah. So kita mismo we can study
Hopefully,
our own
siguro,
first.
when we're done with the 14th title, the UP Press will be able to, have it in digitized, bale. We can buy it in, online or ano na nga version, e-copies or something like that.
We have that in mind to have ang mga sa diskettes naton i-CD. We have that.
Imagine that
We
time
have already
diskette.
thought of that 3 years ago, but then we are just focusing our time muna na matapos ang hard copy. But we had already a proposal on that.
Oo, kay dodamo gid ang nagapangita doc sang digital copy. So at this moment, let us take this momentous time nga aton siya ma-capture. I would like to ask everybody to open your camera. Let's take a picture with our speaker. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you again, Miss Sarah. I hope
Salamat for joining us.
if there are any miss, we are very much welcome. Tawag mo sini interested to join. So again, let's smile. 1, 2. Next stage. Next stage. 1, 2, smile. Some more. Another one. Another one. We actually have 8
We're glad
participants.
kadamo isang atong participant today.
Yes,
Participants.
we also have in Facebook Live. Yeah, so, but you can only capture some days sa We have another page. Last one, I guess.
Thank you, Gid, for the
Again.
work also of Cheche and Maru. Siyempre, for helping
Thank you
us.
to all of you.
At least
Cheche, I miss you.
I miss you, Doc, and Miss Rara.
Thank you.
Yes.
Salamat, Gid. Kagwapa sa inyo tanan. Kagkamang
Thank
gwapa.
you.
Yes.
Again, this is the first tranche, kumbaga, first part sa ating 3-part series, Panay Mythology Talks and Experiences. I know you have enjoyed and learned a lot sa Subong. So, you can head over to EyeCan Creative's Facebook page for details of our next webinar. We will actually be having the director of the Panublion Museum herself, Miss Che as our next speaker. So, I connected. Di sila tanan, guys. You would be able to know some connection ni Doc Magos, ni Miss Rara, ni Maru, ni Miss Che. And again, this webinar series is made possible with the support of our National Commission for Culture and the Arts, NCCA. So, and ang Panublion Museum. So, thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Let's keep in touch. Amo nang namin isubong ay online na gid yan.
Yes.
So, God bless everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss you, Doc.
Yes, I miss you too also. Please send my regards to all.
Yes.
Oo, Doc. Yes, Doc. He's not able to join with us this afternoon. I will send it to sa bodyguard to Sir Al. So, next week, hopefully you can join us as well. Kung hindi ka mo busy, we will be having Miss Che.
Yes,
Miss Che naman!
Oo, mga
Yes,
Che. Thank you, Gid.
Salamat. We will, Doc and Miss Rara, we will be sending the certificates sa email.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
yeah.
it. Appreciate that you
Mm.
are here with us and for
Festival.
giving us this venue to discuss
Nabubaan ko sa
more of
lakyan.
them. Salamat.
Nabubaan ko sa lakyan.
Ayan. So, thank you. God bless. God bless.
Room 1. Di ka sa bungaw. Sana
I-end na guro ka.